Yes.
So you said you didn't know anything about these Asian instruments, but what did you know about orchestration? How were you able to?
I had studied orchestration at Yale, where I was a student, and done some simple orchestration. Actually, the best orchestration school was scoring westerns at Universal, which was my first assignment there. I scored a whole bunch of the Virginian. And there's nothing like having to write for 20, 25 players and know that you have a week or two to write it and there's going to be an orchestra sitting there. It was scary, but you learn fast. You learn if something doesn't work, you learn very quickly not to do that again. And yet at the same time, you're kind of spoiled because the Los Angeles musicians are so good and pride themselves on playing the unplayable that sometimes you think that you've written something that's just totally natural to them. And then when you try it with a student orchestra and an amateur orchestra, you find out how good they really were.
So what was the shock or the reaction when all this pleasure of orchestration and big orchestras, and you end up doing this movie with me, and I'm asking you for one piano?
Well, I was going to get to that. When you first asked me to do the movie, I thought, oh boy, a high profile Paramount picture. Now I'm going to get a big orchestra and a big budget. And when you first asked me to do a piano score, my heart kind of sank. You said no orchestration, no electronics. You wanted the inside of Harry Call, not that. The basic theme of that was, and you said go home and develop that, turn that in, polish that, make that a coherent, total piece of music.
Woof.
All right,
It's
we
just
are
killer stuff.
here for the after party show.
Right.
A whole warehouse is jumping right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm on my scooter.
Exactly. You can't tell, but I'm on my scooter.
All right, diving right into it. It feels a lot like when we talk about Mikey and Nikki, or also A Woman Under the Influence, like that same era, that same kind of almost like Cassavetes, because when we did Woman Under the Influence, right, like the theme for Peter Falk, I think, was just a piano, that kind of was trying to get into his own psyche and like explain kind of, it was like this very trotting, like dun 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 dun, like so I kind of found that fascinating. This movie kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful. And you just, when you think you're like, this song is gonna like annoy the shit out of me, it doesn't, because he switches it up a little bit and it's actually gorgeous. And it this is, you guys are
That's
musicians,
a secret to my
so
music
you know,
too, by the way. Yeah, I was gonna say,
like, just when you want to turn it off,
like,
Conan switches it up on you.
That's
Just
the
when I
trick to
thought it
writing
was
good
out,
music.
they pull me back in.
Mhm.
Did you say not just the music, Erica?
I said that's the key to writing good music.
Oh, okay.
As soon as somebody might just get sick of what you've got, you got to change it up just a little. Yeah.
Yeah. That's much nicer than what I thought you said. Go ahead, Fred.
No one's speaking ill of you, Conan.
No,
Everyone's
never.
against me. I have tapes to prove it.
You feeling lonely? Speaking of loneliness, no, it's very haunting, and it's very
Beautiful.
It's very thought out, I think, and the fact that he's kind of the loneliest person. He's basically the loneliest person in the world. Like, nobody is able to because even when you have I think in a show that kind of has a similar feeling of like isolation and loneliness, and is like Mad Men, right, with Don Draper, where nobody really knows that he's, and then as the show goes on, obviously more people kind of find out that he's not who he says he is and all of this stuff. In this, this person is walled off from like there's nobody that knows who he is. Like there's nobody that knows. Like some people know what he does but don't know anything about his personal life, and some people know about tiny things about his personal life, like like Amy in the apartment, or like Meredith when he finally tells her something. But then those people don't really know that much about what he does for a living, I think. So it's fascinating to have like both of those kind of going on simultaneously. And
Yeah.
And for him to find out that he's kind of a celebrity in the field of surveillance is kind of it's this movie feels a lot. It's written, and I want to hear Francesca's thoughts on this. It's kind of written kind of like a comedy, right? Like it's kind of like you're waiting for a prolonged joke, and you're waiting.
Oh, if like Jason was sitting there with the laugh track, then it would be funny.
No, but you're waiting. You're kind of waiting for a punchline. You're waiting for a punchline, and finally, I think when he's in his apartment and the entire thing is destroyed, and he can't find the bug, and you're wondering if there even was a bug or if it's in the saxophone. Like that kind of feels like it's this ironic punchline in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, well, there's a constant mystery, but I do think that the question is the mystery, is there even a mystery? Is it just his state of being that he's highly paranoid, racked with guilt, and there's actually nothing left to find out. There is no secret murder. There is no plot. There is no evil behind the scenes. There might have been, but it largely fizzled out. I don't know. I think he's just having to deal with his own brain.
I mean, I do think that he's imagining in his own mind that that's what happened. But I also think that he did see the hand kind of hit up against the wall, and there was like blood on the hand. And then it is true that at the end, I don't know if that's something that he imagined. I mean,
no, I'm just kidding. Am I crazy though? Like, I feel like the way it's cut, like ever since the dream sequence, we just don't know what's real and what's not real anymore. Yeah. And it just doesn't, everything's so realistic. Everything is so based in, okay, this is our work. This is what we would do. So suddenly you have a murder on your hands and there's no detective work. There's no hotel staff. He's not confiding in anyone. He doesn't go tell anyone about it. Like suddenly we've lost all, there's no grip on reality anymore. He's not following any norms that he would usually follow. Honestly, if he witnessed a murder, he'd fucking tell someone.
I don't think he would.
He doesn't have anyone to tell, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that.
I mean, unless he went to the cops, but
who would he confide in?
But it seems like the cops even are in on. If something did happen, the cops are even in on it. Like the entire. I feel like this is very. It kind of predicts the idea of kind of the the intelligence machine, like the CIA, as we find out about it in like 1972, kind of 2 years before this, I think, starting around then, like realizing that this is kind of a self-correcting organism. Like if somebody gets killed, right? Someone's a liability, they get killed, and then the machine kind of just fixes itself. And in the same way, like she all of a sudden may or may not inherit like his position, his money. She might have had all of that to gain from it. Like they're asking her at the end, like, what's going to happen to the company? What's going to happen to this? And the way that they kind of have him as the director and not as like the CEO, not as something else, it kind of feels like the machine self-corrects, and then all the executives know exactly what happened, but they clean it up, and the machine self-corrects. You can't push the two like other highest executives out of the way. It's that like one of the heads of the Hydra kind of got lobbed off, and the rest of the Hydra has to keep going.
Yeah, well, okay, so that's a lot. I think that
I'm curious as to your guys' thoughts, because I'm like not convinced that any of that is real. But maybe you saw it 3 times for us, so shit.
Yeah, I've seen it 3 times as well, but like over a space of a really long time, and I got way more out of it.
I'm just kidding.
And yeah, no.
Next.
We don't have Andy here to give him a hard time, Conan, so you're stepping up to the plate now.
Yeah, apparently the low man on the totem pole in this outfit. Who knew? Well,
there's no totem pole. We all love you.
Well, and the feeling
I barely know you.
Okay. Well, let me only speak for myself then.
But Erica was very free in committing your love nonetheless. And that's what I appreciate about Erica Strout.
I love Erica. That's not in question. That is that's like Bond is deep. Arrival, this. Come on now.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
gang
too.
That neutron cat.
But let me, like, I'm not a director. I have no idea how any of that works. But when you observe the way things are shot, the way things are edited compared to the first half of the film and the last 20 minutes, completely different. Apples and oranges. So and I think we're collapsing into his mania, into his psychosis, into his imagination. I don't think we are seeing a real murder unfold in real time. It would have been filmed completely differently. I mean, I don't know. I think that they're trying to tell us something with how it's edited and filmed, that actually this is not a reliable account.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. And I think that it's possible that Conan, sorry, I have this one thought. I think it's possible that he's kind of putting the pieces together. Like, I think it's possible that maybe he did die in a car accident. He sees the headline, and then because it does look like kind of flashbacks. You're kind of imagining what's happening. But like maybe those he's putting those pieces together. Conan, do you have thoughts on this?
Well, yes, I do, Forrest. I think that this is a guy that lives in his head. So is the way that it's filmed differently? I think it's definitely an aesthetic that is meant to sort of blur the lines a little bit. But I think there is something real there, because if you think back, like, what's the inciting incident? Well, he like overhears these people like, oh, there's, they're worried they're going to be killed. And it turns out they're plotting the murder. Right. And he's in this position. I mentioned this on the main show, but that's the inciting incident. If he does not take action, something will happen. And that's the thing that makes him, Heisenberg effect, right? The act of observing something changes it. He's a participant now. So
you're goddamn right.
Therefore, if you, I wasn't thinking of that Heisenberg. I was thinking of the actual Heisenberg, but I appreciate the reference. But
you mean like the football trophy?
Then the way that at the end of it, it seems like, okay, so maybe this is in his head. Maybe this is like what he extrapolated out after he kind of like loses it a little bit after getting like betrayed the way that he does, and just like, being like at a loss, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's actually very possible that it's real as well. And this is a guy that, like, again, he has no one to confide in. Right. So maybe some of it, like, did he see it or not? Who knows? Maybe he doesn't know. And that's part of what makes it interesting at the end, where he rips up like to the floorboards the entire place. So it's just literally him and the saxophone, the lonely saxophone playing.
The one place he doesn't look.
Right. And it's like, he's probably in the fucking saxophone. Like, you didn't think, like, you talked about the saxophone for like an hour and a half at this party. Like, he's probably in the saxophone. But I think it's
part the Virgin Mary.
Exactly. Even the Virgin Mary.
Made of rubber.
I was expecting it to smash. He kept like hammering it, and I was like, "Why isn't it smashing?" Oh my god!
Totally.
Plastic.
That's his religiosity is a really interesting point of all this. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I think it's real. I do think it's real, but I fully get that when someone would think it's not, and like I can vibe with that too. It doesn't make it any less of a movie for me. But
no, yeah.
Yes, I agree.
I feel like I need to go watch it again.
Did you, but upon first watch, Erica, were you like, oh damn, that's who actually was planning the murder and that's who got killed? Or were you like, I don't know what's really going on? Was it?
I was definitely sort of confused, but I also, I think I took the twist literally, where it's like, oh, she was actually trying to kill her father, who seems like probably his like father-daughter, right? So like
I think either wife or daughter. Yeah, I couldn't quite.
I thought it was wife. I thought she was the wife.
Oh.
That's what
Okay.
I thought she was the wife. She's having an affair with like one of the highest executives. They think that they can get a better position within the company. They also think that probably that by he might come after them. No. I do believe that part is real. They kind of have the same paranoia. They're like, he'd kill us if he had the chance. So they kind of see this as like a cat and mouse game that, they're going to confront him and kill him before he can kill them. Mm-hmm. And it seems like Harrison Ford, I couldn't really tell if he's setting up his boss or if he's trying to warn him. And then once
it could go either way. Happens,
okay.
But then it kind of has to be, it's a self-correcting corporate organism. Like you can't like, well, because these are like the three highest people probably it's in some degree at this company. So it's like, you can't, if those people go to jail, the company is done. So you have to self-correct and say, hey, this person died in an accident. We found the body, like, you know, and then everyone's asking like, oh, like you're going to inherit the company because you're the wife. Like what's going to happen to it? And she's not answering the questions. And it's like, everybody knows that information. I don't know. I had questions at the end of it too, because it does seem like he's putting that together and he's coming up with the idea that that's what happened. He sees her, she looks fine, and he's like, in his mind, he's like, oh, this is what happened. That doesn't mean that's not what happened though.
What's in the instance where they're listening to the tapes? You've got Robert Duvall and young Harrison Ford, and Duvall says, "You want this to be real, right?"
Yeah.
And what does that mean? Is he saying you want the affair to be real?
Yeah.
Okay.
My reading of it, at least, was that Harrison Ford is telling him, your wife is cheating on you. Your wife is cheating on you. He's like, I don't believe it. I need to actually, because they say, well, like he wants to hear the proof. Like he wants to hear the evidence. He doesn't, you can't use lip readers because they could get confused. Like he's in denial that this is happening. And Harrison Ford seems to be like, no, this is happening. Now, the question is Harrison Ford trying to convince him because then he'll go to the apartment and get murdered? Or is Harrison Ford trying to convince him because he's like, you need to do something about this? And then once it happens, he self-corrects.
Is it earnest or complicit, basically? Like, is he part of like this overall plan or not? And I mean...
Yeah, I thought he was part of the conspiracy at first.
Yeah, he definitely gives off those vibes. He has big conspiracy vibes.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it seems feasible too that potentially, like, if they killed him in the hotel and then like put him in a car and pretended, you know, there was a car accident, like the newspaper doesn't necessarily negate Harry's perspective on it.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot going on under the surface that we can just speculate about all night.
Yeah, I think you guys are right. If it is real, then the way that they filmed it and edited it, they wanted it to feel like he's going crazy, like he's going nuts, like you're in his head.
Yeah.
You start outside of his head, and then you really just get into the victim who he thought was the victim is no longer the victim. It's now the perpetrator.
Well, and he's gotten sloppy because now he's a detective. He's not an active observer, which is what he's good at, right? Like he's good at listening to people and just going, all right, well, I bugged them. This is what they said. I have no bearing on this. I don't feel something either way. Like I'm just recording whatever people do with those tapes. That's their business. And throughout the movie, he's still trying to convince himself of that after fleeing, watching or seeing like, you know, 3 people literally get decapitated, ripped to pieces, and put in different areas, which you can assume it probably has something to do with the mafia at that point. They're saying in that union, like, but you know, whatever happened there in the Sopranos,
more anti-union propaganda.
Hey, at least it's consistent, you know.
It was really funny though, because that you gave me that context, because I was kind of thinking like, oh, there we go. It's got to be some corrupt, you know, union boss killing somebody, blah blah blah. Anyway, yeah.
Well, if I may, I think it's amazing we've gotten this far in discussing this film, which I personally adore, without talking about Blow Up from '66. Antonioni. So like, and there was an American version actually starred, so it was Blow Out, and it's stars John Travolta, and they changed it from being a photographer to him being like a sound, like guy who records sound. Talk about more sound design, right? And actually, it's a great film.
I haven't seen Blow Up, but I do know that it involves a photograph and is shot in a very similar way. That's the
and in the same way, this small thing of this person, this thing that this person does all the time, becomes part of a larger plot and events that wrap them up into this world. And you know, and Coppola's flat out said, like, you know, that was definitely an inspiration for this. But of course,
I stole it.
Yeah, I done stole it, and I done
stole it.
But I think that the fact of like what is the conspiracy exactly, it doesn't really matter. I don't think it really matters. Like, and I think that think about other movies around this time, like 3 Days of the Condor and Parallax View, stuff like that, right? Where it's sort of like, what a great era. Hey guys, remember when conspiracies were fun? You know, and not radicalizing grandmama. Yeah, but you know, I like
the good conspiracies. But Death Wish came out the same year, like around the exact same time as
documentary Death Wish. Yes.
No, but like, you know, doing the right, like I was listening to The Invisible Bridge to get ready for this episode, which is a really fucking good book by Rick Perlstein that goes through the entire Watergate thing. And Rick Perlstein is an amazing author that takes cultural moments pretty much when he kind of tracks how conservatism and like Reagan got elected and how we got from kind of like the Eisenhower, these 4 books, and they're really long, but how it got from like kind of the Goldwater, like nobody takes it seriously conservatism to like a Reagan conservatism. And obviously this is kind of the midpoint. So he has this book, The Invisible Bridge, and it tracks the entire Watergate investigation. And he goes through culture, like what was happening, the emotional state of people, like what was happening. So as the Watergate tapes, the first time they subpoenaed the first 42, which then they subpoenaed a bunch of other ones too. But like this movie came out. And then, you know, right after Nixon had gotten kicked out, Parallax View and Death Wish came out at the same time, which is like an interesting,
Well, yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of capstone that is to say that, again, going back to the Heisenberg effect, the act of observing something, changing something, is that's kind of a key factor of this movie. It's a key factor to blow up, to blow out, that like by being a part of, by observing and in this case, observing it through audio, right? Then Gene Hackman's character becomes involved in this larger thing. And I think we think of that as sort of not contrived necessarily, but more common at this point. But at the time, like that was like a crazy thing, because you could just be like, oh, like whatever, I don't care what they do with it, I just record this stuff. And that was a perfectly acceptable thing. Oh, of course, he doesn't care. He's not political, you know.
I guess the genre is like, it's kind of a genre, but I guess it was more of a genre in the 70s. And then in the early 2000s, I mean, Enemy of the State was a fucking banger. And like, it really was excellent. And guess what it got eclipsed by? Like literally everything. It got eclipsed by 9/11. And all of a sudden it was like, no. See, the state is not the enemy. The state is our friend. We love the state, because if you don't love the state, then you are you're part of, Osama bin Laden's, you're Al Qaeda basically.
Yeah.
And so
you're a terrorist.
You're a terrorist. What a great film that was. What a great and honest and like chilling and very real film. And like, I feel like there were some in the 90s. You had The Net, with like
The Net,
Stolen Identity, bro. The Net.
Yeah.
So I do think it's interesting. I haven't seen those other films, but it is very spy-y, and it's also the tech world. And I honestly, like, we're missing
the tech world before the tech world was like, like, hey, Facebook is your friend. Like, Twitter's your friend.
Wired magazine, boing boing kind of era.
But we're missing that drama genre of like either whistleblowers or people in tech. Like we had, it's only just like fucking biopics, like, I mean, not really, but like the Social Network, talking about, it's like, my mom watched that and was like, he was a very clever man. And I'm like, that's what you got from that? He's a piece of shit.
He's a spoiled,
he's a spoiled thief.
Love that Michael Cera. Wait, no, guy that looks like Jesse Eisenberg.
No, it's the other one.
It was basically like a different version of hotornot.com, wasn't it? Like it was social media.
He was a fucking horny guy at Harvard that wasn't getting laid. That was like, let me try to figure out how I could get laid at Harvard. Oh, we can just get people to ping this thing, and then like, find out, who's getting laid at Harvard.
But having hold on. Having little to do with Hot or Not, though. I want to cap on the point that, like,
it's important though.
First of all, I just wanted to say that. But Enemy of the State is sort of like the stepchild to the conversation, and the fact that Gene Hackman somewhat reprises his character as Harry Call. They don't exactly go for it, but I like that they have that continuity to it. I know I mentioned something about it before, but I think it's worth mentioning because there is a recency bias too for things that people are like, 70s movie, all right, whatever. And they're like, oh, Coppola directed it? Oh, maybe I'll check it out. And I think that Surveillance in when did that came out? Was it 99? Something like that? No, Enemy of the State. Sorry. 74 is when Conversation. I'm talking about too much shit.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were asking.
We can go back to talking about Hot or Not.
You tried, Erica.
Hot or Not. That's the real Surveillance.
Hot or Not. We want to know if they're hot.
The real issue here.
Or not. That's what everybody
CIA,
wants to know.
FBI, doesn't matter. Are they hot or not? Are they hot or not? Who's tapping my phone? Hot tap, not tap.
but think about but I think it's an important thing that we shouldn't lose track of, that how we have thought about surveillance especially post Patriot Act, post Snowden, et cetera, is so much different than we think about in
Dude,
the
you're
70s.
queuing
Where,
up this clip so well,
Yeah.
honestly.
hey, at least I did something right today. But whereas the 70s, also, it's like a different kind of thing where it's like, hey, this came out right when like all Watergate happening. Want to talk about the Heisenberg effect? Good Lord.
Hot.
I mean, the act
Hot.
of observing
You're hot.
something.
You're hot on this. You're hot on this. Hell yeah. No. So this is a clip of Gene Hackman a couple days after the conversation came out.
And I think Francesca's out of bounds.
Francesca-
I'm out, but
Alright.
thank you guys so much.
Well, good night,
We love
Francesca.
you.
Good to
Take
see
care.
you.
Thank you so much
Love
for being
you.
on.
Of course.
Me
Bye.
too. Bye.
All right, so this is Gene Hackman and Johnny Carson. And
Cool. Awesome.
yeah, we love Johnny Carson.
We love Johnny.
Non-political king.
Yeah.
But they're talking about surveillance in this, and it's an incredibly paranoid conversation because they're kind of in the same position, right? Because Watergate's just came out, like the Watergate or the Nixon tapes have just come out, and it's revealed that this tapping is going on, like phones are getting tapped, and everyone's thinking, oh well, Nixon was surveilling people, the CIA are surveilling people, the FBI are surveilling people, everyone's surveilling people. Am I getting surveilled? Are people recording me? So I thought this was a fascinating clip to play, because it's even like Johnny Carson, who like there's no reason why anyone would be fucking tailing Johnny Carson. You know what I mean? Like
the invasion of privacy and loneliness and
Nope. Not going to happen. Here's Erica Strout with the news.
It's me. Who knew that the father from the Birdcage would he had a past in surveillance?
Exactly.
yeah.
Isn't he a congressman or something? I can't remember. That's like, for some reason, that's like when you say Gene Hackman, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Birdcage.
That is a surprising thing to be the first thing of, but I get it.
He's so good.
It's one of my favorite movies. So
I also realized that his face shape, he has the same face shape as Kevin Spacey, which is a little fucking weird. But
oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, it's weird now that Kevin Spacey is a
super creep. Well,
Gene Hackman isn't.
No, super creep. No.
Turns out he's not. Yeah, I
He's just a
appreciate
CIA
that about him.
Turns out he's not.
Turns out not a super creep like Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gene Hackman, for being a cool
hot or
person.
not, our game pedophile or not. No, but
Yeah, it's so funny to think about people in the 70s being like, "Oh, it's terrifying to think about someone spying on you," and like, it's
and then it's
part
like
of our day.
It's
just daily
everyday life now.
Yeah, it's like
right?
if you have a cell phone, someone is getting some information about you. You sign up on a website for an account, like somebody has, is paying attention, like cookies on websites that you go to. Like it's just all like normalized now.
And it's a deal we've made. Like,
but it's all.
We're
complicit to it, but like but the thing is,
we didn't really have that much of a choice either.
And what everyone got wrong is that it's going to be something done to us rather than us trading it away for security and then having it bought and sold forever and ever, amen, as part of endless capitalism.
Yeah. No, and this movie does that really well, I think. Like, shows that, because he's not spying for a government agency. He's spying for, I do like that it's kind of called the director, which kind of brings up images of like the CIA rather than a company. Like, it's not like he's like, oh, we're spying for the CEO, but like I do like that kind of vague title the entire movie, but like it's made clear like he's a private contractor. He spies for whoever has the money to pay him, and that might be the Attorney General, Bobby Kennedy, it seems like, because it's like 1960 whatever, but like it might be the Attorney General, or actually he wasn't in 1968, he was fucking dead in 1968 by the middle of it, but but it seems like that might be what they're kind of implying by that the mob possible like connection to the union. And then it seems like but it's not that. It's like, this guy's just like, is my wife or my daughter, whoever I think it's the wife, but it's like, is my wife cheating on me? Like, is my wife cheating on me? And you realize like, no, this is something mundane. This is a mundane, he might kill her. Like, throughout the movie you're thinking like he might kill her, but it's not something that's going to happen out of like, oh, she's like a KGB spy. It's not going to happen out of the Cold War. It's not going to happen out of some connection to a criminal organization. She's just fucking some guy that also works at the company. And it seems like maybe that's the thing that kind of in some ways gets through to this guy is like, it's not like a national security threat.
It may be as simple as that, right? It may be nothing. There may be nothing more to it than that. And the fact that it's never explicitly laid out to me is a strength of the film. Like you're able to like give like the pieces and put it together if you feel so inclined. But like, look, I don't like being spoon-fed stuff. So I like the fact that like, you know, it's like we're as much in the dark as Harry. And it's like, it makes you like, well, what the fuck is going on in here? Like, what's happening? That's great. That's like, that is something that's almost a lost art in movies today. Like people don't do that. It's a spoon feeding. Hey, everybody, here's the big exposition dump of what's happening, you know?
And it's fascinating that I think as someone that's really into mafia films, right? Like I love mafia films. I love all the characters in mafia films. Like The Godfather is obviously like, you know, prestige. Yeah, like it's I mean, it's kind of like prestige mob film. You know what I mean? Like the most classic series of mob films that's really ever come out, like at least arguably. And it's funny to like listen to Coppola because and not just for this show, but also when we did Apocalypse Now, every time he talks about The Godfather, he's like, yeah. Like, I did that for money. Like, oh, it was very, very successful. Sure. That's not what I wanted to do. And in this film, he's like, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to make films that I wrote, that I produced, that I directed, that are like, you know, that make you think, that are character studies, that have to, you know, that resonate with people who have watched like, you know, Italian cinema, like not crime Italian cinema, like either romantic or, you know, experimental Italian cinema.
Blow Up, right? He was so enraptured by Blow Up, he made like kind of like his sort of version of that's a different kind of movie, but he wanted to be a Kubrick. He, you know, that's what he wanted to do. He didn't want to be like making the mob movies. He wanted to be a Kubrick. Anyway, Erica,
did you say earlier? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No. I just wanted
to talking over you, but did you say earlier something about Coppola not really having a lot of time to film this?
So he started filming in the middle of filming this, which might be why the style kind of changes up. In the middle of filming this, he started filming Godfather 2.
Okay, so he was working on this, and then during
Godfather 2 and this came out the same year.
Okay, right. Okay, thank you for reminding me, clarifying.
Yeah. That's a good year for movies. Like this and Godfather 2 comes out.
He also started filming this in 1972, which is the year the Godfather came out, which would have meant, you know, it went through editing and everything and was released. So he started filming this in 1972. Watergate broke. Like the story of Watergate broke in the headlines. They had already started filming. And he would read the Watergate headlines to the cast and be like,
it was that much in the zeitgeist. Yeah, it was happening in real time, which is crazy because like the script came way before all that. Like he had the script.
1966 is when the script
after
came
he
out.
watched
when you start
after he watched Blow Up, and then like and he would just and it wasn't that he wanted to rip Blow Up off. He wanted to be like what a cool idea. Like what if, you know, like let's do something like it just was the perfect case of artistic inspiration. And that filmmaker is, you know, fantastic. Like, you know, like I don't need to, you know, whatever. I talk enough about like film movements and whatnot, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact is, like, he was the first one to shout it out because it's like American audiences, they don't care about that guy. They don't care about like watching Blow Up, but they care about it when De Palma does it as Blowout with Travolta, which is great, by the way, but not as good as Blow Up. But it is like, but they change it so he's doing sound. Why do you think they did that? A little movie called The Conversation, maybe. Actually.
It's funny because like I don't know, at some point I think it was like maybe early or mid last year I had an idea for a film where I was like, what if these people were just like having a normal day, like these friends meet up or whatever and they're like just having a day together, but like the whole world is like crumbling around them, but they're just like completely oblivious to it. Like, and then like, Don't Look Up came out and I was like, well, but I still haven't watched Don't Look Up. So, I mean, I'm sure it's like, it could be different enough, but it was like, to me, I was like, oh, well, I guess I can't do that now.
It's more like the beginning of Shaun of the Dead, like where they don't realize there's a zombie outbreak for like half the movie, which I love so much. And by the way, it's a great movie. Gorgeous filmmaking. Yeah, amazing.
Which is also, I realized when we were watching Invasion of the Body Snatchers, it's inspired by that. The beginning of Shaun of the Dead. Yeah. because there's like the thing
Oh.
where they're just kind of being mundane, and it's Donald Sutherland creeping on his assistant in the car or whatever, and they're like, they're just kind of flirting, and then the guy hits their car, and it's the guy from the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and he runs by and is like, and then he gets like ripped apart, and they're still like, he's like, oh well, that's, you just have to call the police. And it's the same kind of like obliviousness that in Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah,
It's crazy here.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, but as a movie, like as well, and that's almost better with like a more self-aware movie watching audience now, that like everyone's so aware of everything, enforced to be aware. Like everyone's forcibly like aware of things, and like there's something to be said for like, look at like why is Something Gets Always Sunny in Philadelphia so great? Because they're fucking oblivious. They're completely oblivious, and that's why it's a show about dumb people for smart people. Because you get to watch oblivious people doing oblivious things, get themselves into hijinks, and maybe or maybe not get themselves out. And that's fucking
Usually
funny
not.
as shit. Usually not.
Yeah.
And they do get the consequences of their actions, right? But they
Yeah.
never learn a lesson. That's the important thing, is no lessons are ever learned, which is also great. But the obliviousness is
It's
the
also
is the
part of the
key.
reason I get tired of that show after a certain point. I'm
Well,
like,
yeah, you don't
oh,
want to sit there and binge
hit my
3
limit.
seasons of it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, but you end up learning that it's the same thing with Norman Lear, who was the one that put the money up for The Princess Bride.
We're talking all those classic comedy stuff after Francesca leaves, by the way, which is fantastic.
I wanted to hear her thoughts on the Johnny Carson clip, but I respect that she has so much fucking going on. But
she's like, she's a very busy lady.
She didn't have to give us the after party, honestly. So
hey, yes. We'll take what we can get. Thank you.
So I have I have 2 clips from the actual DVD commentary that I wanted to play, and then I have one last fun clip that I wanted to play at the end. So I definitely want to keep this down to an hour, because we don't want to pull a network, man. Like that was a lot.
Yeah.
And I say that it's one of my favorite movies of all time, but I was like, wow, that was a lot. I love this image, by the way. Where does this image come from? Who made this?
This is I don't know. There was the DVD commentary thing, and this was on it.
Did you make this? Okay. Oh, all right. Well, props to whoever made this. That was fantastic.
I had an idea in making the movie that the camera would be an eavesdropper. And so, unlike most modern movies, if you watch the lower corner or upper corner of any movie, you'll see that it's constantly adjusting. It's constantly, the cameraman is trying to make a good picture and follow. In the conversation, I wanted the camera just to be dead, just to be there as though it was just a passive eavesdropping device. If an actor walked out of the frame and something important happened outside the field of view, it would not show it. It would literally be off screen unless it stayed off long enough that the camera realized it wasn't really getting the scene, and quite mechanically it would like pan over to the left later, too late, as though it were an automated eavesdropping device, and show the action not as a human operator would show it, but as an eavesdropping device. Even in the backgrounds and the windows, the notion of tearing down the walls that protect us, a building across from his apartment is being demolished, and we see the crane wrecking it, tearing down those walls that protect people inside from the view of others. Also, why I wanted to see Harry's behavior be the behavior of someone who knows he's alone, that he's not being watched. I don't know about you, but one of the first things I do when I go into a place where I know I'm alone and not going to be watched is to take off my shoes and take off my pants and be comfortable, because after all, no one can see me. So all of these elements in the staging were designed to show and reflect Harry's paranoia about privacy, and a kind of glimpse into the way he lives, a man who's not used to having other people. His apartment doesn't look like it's ever used for a social reason.
And no keys. Goodbye.
No keys. Yeah.
You get a lot of what kind of life that guy lives with that little exchange too. I love that.
Yeah.
Coppola doesn't get much credit for that kind of stuff, right? I mean, like, he's good at showing that kind of things. Apparently really good at avoiding unions too, but also really good at those kinds of things.
I mean,
Yeah.
so he talked to the union about the whole. So you know what I mean? Like he's not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
I
don't
don't
have a
know how
talk
much.
with him.
The thing is, I don't know how much to like put into that because it's kind of a very specific. It's a very specific era of filmmaking, right? Like the auteur era, and it's over now. That doesn't happen. Now we're in the Marvel era. No, but like now we're in a very different era. We're in the era where streaming services put up large amounts of money to make films, and we're in the
Mhm.
era where like you know things are very 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 regulated. And I'm unions are weaker than ever, so I'm not saying that it's a union thing, but like the auteur era is a very different thing. It's a thing where you can kind of somebody like George Harrison or something, as we talked about with like with Time Bandits, can like just kind of put up the money, and you're making this movie, and you don't necessarily like you're kind of someone who's famous enough that you're not really working with unionized people because you can't really afford that, but you're working, you know, on this low budget thing and creating like auteur cinema. So I don't really know how much stock to put in the fact that during the 70s, you know, Francis Ford Coppola was avoiding unions like that. I don't think you can do that really anymore. Like it's Oliver Stone, who is a leftist, did the same thing with Platoon. You know, like it was like he's like, no, you can't do that anymore. Like you can't make a movie like that anymore. You can't put actors through literal boot camp, like military boot camp anymore, and just leave them in the woods and give them 2 hours of sleep a night and then send them out there. Like you can't do that. And it's the same. He made Platoon as a reaction to Apocalypse Now, which both movies avoided unions, which is like fascinating.
Yeah, I don't know what avoiding a union or using or like working through a union entails. Like I haven't made a movie on that scale.
Erica
So
Strout
I don't know
avoiding
that.
unions.
Voiding unions, heard it for first.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, guys.
Pre-canceled.
That's fair. But yeah,
Don't worry,
I
this
don't
is
know
only
what
going to
that.
be up on Twitch for a couple days, and then I'm taking it off and I'm putting it on Patreon. So
It's fine. It's
A lot of
Black
Union
History Month,
Busters of
so
a
it's
movie
fine.
night
I'll accept the
extravaganza
consequences
Patreon.
of avoiding a union.
But I mean, in the 90s, they don't even talk about it anymore. Like in the 90s, people were making movies, Spike Lee, Kevin Smith, like people were just making movies with like actors they met either in a theater or that were just kind of hanging out, or it's John Turturro and he's like, just sitting somewhere and they're like, hey, John Turturro, be in my movie. I don't know.
Sure, I'm not doing anything.
John Turturro is the most
Yeah.
famous person who graduated from SUNY New Paltz, where I went, where I live. Like I live here because my whole family taught there. And I guess John Turturro is the most famous graduate they've ever had in the theater program.
That's cool, though.
Him and Vinny from Jersey Shore, who my dad is not married.
I have no reaction to that. But
Are you
my
telling
dad
me
is
that's not reality?
my dad spends every holiday with Vinny from Jersey Shore's uncle. And it's really weird. He sends me these videos of that because the guy was in Jersey Shore and he's like, look, it's Uncle Nino. And every fucking holiday he sends me a video with it. But no, so it's like, I don't know, like once it hit kind of the 90s, that conversation never came up, right? Like unions weren't powerful at all. Like you never hear Kevin Smith go, oh, well, like, we shot this in a gas station in my hometown. Yeah, like the union didn't like that. No, like that's not even in conversation anymore. Like it's kind of, and with podcasts, there's no podcast unions, you know what I mean? Like, so we're kind of in a situation where things have been bled so dry that like, yeah, people talk about SAG a lot. People
I'm gonna go talk to my
SAG.
shop steward about these after-hour shows for us, so you know.
Yes, after a certain time, my rate goes up by 200%.
Exactly. We definitely went
200%
overtime
of zero, still zero. Oh,
Still zero.
The Murder Night extravaganza wrap-up show would have been into triple time for sure.
That's why when you start pimping
But this is
out
going to lead to a lot of
fucking,
opportunities for me, right? Like I've got lots of exposure and opportunities.
Exposure. Yeah, I was about to say it. God damn it.
That's what I'm doing.
That's why
this
people
for.
got to start pimping out the old Patreon, so I can afford to pay people, and it's not just going to the RSS feed.
I'm glad that other guy's not here to complain about how we're not talking about the conversation anymore.
Oh wait, no, there he is. No, no, I have. All right, so here's the other clip I wanted to play from this DVD commentary. Oh, hold on. But yeah, I don't know. I listened to the first hour and a half of the DVD commentary between the last couple of days.
That's impressive.
Well, I had it on I downloaded it as an
I
audio
don't think I could have
file.
listened to a minute and a half of it. I fucking love this movie.
But
I
no,
just don't have the time.
I downloaded it as an audio file, so I listen to it like I do podcasts, where it's just like
Look at you.
just the audio of
Yeah.
it. And so I went for a long bike ride today. Listened to like a big chunk of it, and it was
Yeah,
good.
that's cool shit. I like that idea.
Nice. I didn't know you
Life
could do
hack by
Yeah.
Forrest Miller.
This scene was one of the more personal scenes near the beginning of the film, showing something in Harry's life.
He's talking about when he was at the girl's house, by the way.
very, precious and alive
Amy's
and
house.
warm, but that he had no comfort with. I don't know where this strange character came from entirely. I mean, no doubt it's an aspect of myself. I would suppose any character you write is part of yourself. Also, I was very influenced as a young writer in novels, and especially in this case, the novel Steppenwolf by Hermann Hesse. I had read Siddhartha and I had read Steppenwolf, and I thought I wanted to make a film somewhat in that genre, which was kind of focused on an intriguing solitary character, and try to use that style and that perspective. And I think just as I was inspired or certainly took Blow Up as something to try to imitate, equally I had Steppenwolf rolling around in my head, and I think unquestionably, even the character is named Harry. I was very influenced by my interpretation of what that principal character was like, albeit the story was quite a bit different.
I don't think I'm gonna wait for you.
By the way, from way earlier on, I just looked it up. David Shire is the husband of Talia Shire, aka Francis Ford Coppola's sister. So who did all the sound, did all the music. So
Yeah, I said it was his
I was
brother-in-law.
mentioned earlier. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
some vetting on that.
And she
But-
played Adrian in the Rocky movies, right?
She also played she played Connie in The Godfather and played Rocky in the Rocky movies.
Okay.
And also Talia Shire, I forgot about this. Jason Schwartzman's mother. Forgot about that.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Having nothing to do with the clip we just watched, but I was like, I thought they had some kids. I was like, oh no, that was after that, and then I kind of whatever. I Wikipedia during these clips apparently. Sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
I thought I included this, but Coppola goes into this whole thing on the DVD commentary. You should listen to it. Like it's
Turn
weird.
this off. Listen to that. Yes.
No, I mean you guys should listen to it. It's fucking weird. But he goes into this whole thing about how he had this recurring dream nonstop that he owned a building and there was this girl waiting for him in the building. He didn't tell anybody about the girl.
Meryl Streep. She wasn't paying her rent. He had to kick her out. It's crazy.
The whole thing comes full circle. No, but so he had these constant dreams that this girl was waiting for him in an apartment and nobody knew she was in the apartment, and he would go there and he was like living his life, and he said this is when he was a lot younger, and like he would have these recurring dreams, and it's that character from the conversation that would be waiting for him. And he said that once and it's this place that he goes that he owns that nobody knows about, and he said that once he wrote her character and filmed the conversation, that character disappeared, and he just had recurring dreams where he owned a building. It's kind of crazy.
Wow. Okay. So you got it.
Yeah.
Huh.
Wow.
He put her out there. Like you
Some
put that,
magical pills and shit.
the dream character out there, and then
If
she
it was
was
Charlie
never-
Kaufman, it would be an entirely different movie. Yeah.
That's like the ultimate shadow work.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's
So
trippy. Wow.
I found that fascinating. I have one more. This is a fun clip. I have one more clip to play, and then we can go
Once again, by the way, Francis Ford Coppola proves that would be a pretty cool dude to sit around and drink wine with.
Oh, definitely. Well, depending on
That'd probably be okay.
depending on what movie he's working on, I think. Because he went, when he was filming Apocalypse Now, definitely not.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that documentary where they talk about the filming of that?
I saw the
Dark
documentary
Knight.
before I saw Apocalypse Now, actually.
Fucking terrible.
It was
It's like
interesting.
more. Yeah. It's Yes, agreed. To all the things that were just said. Right. Movie night extravaganza.
Here
Nothing
comes the clip.
better. Here it comes.
Any second now.
Oh, drop that
Any
clip.
second now. Any second now.
Erica, how you doing? You doing okay?
I'm great.
Fantastic.
I met a new drummer today.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
Sorry,
feeling hopeful.
I want to.
Oh, you still here for us? Sorry. I thought we were saying-
No, I wanted to throw out a different window, and the window covered up the StreamYard that was already there, and I had to figure out how to get. Never mind. It's just long story. Long story. I should have just.
Only streaming people will know.
Real streamers will know.
True heads only. Thank you.
People with 2 screens. Sorry, I sent you guys the screen that I owned.
Hey man, most screens, no problems.
The ScreenYard link.
Let's do a little version of Someone's Got to Clean Up the
Oh,
Elephant's
all
Mouth.
right. This was a present for Francis.
Sit over here, if I remember it.
Someone's gotta clean out the elephant house, but he shouldn't have to love his job. How can you expect that workman to smile when his elephant's the one who's making a pile? Lots of folks will tell you it's easier if you take those lumps without a sow. But I say if you gotta clean out an elephant house, you shouldn't have to love your job or even like it. You shouldn't have to love your job.
And a fair point.
Yeah. By the way, I want that to be the new end theme for this show.
Historical recording.
That should totally be the end theme for this show.
Look, it's a step up. You're not going to unionize, but you don't have to love your job.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. So the context behind that is
We
that
love it, folks. We love not loving our jobs.
the context is that's his brother-in-law, and as a present for some holiday, either his birthday or Christmas, David Shire wrote that for him, and I just thought that was a cute little moment. But
yeah, I like that. I listened to that whenever you sent it to me. I listened to it like making coffee or something. I was like, that's funny. That's good.
they had a 10-minute interview where they're talking about all these different stories about making it and everything.
Yeah, they're real busy.
And then at the end of it, they play.
It's good. I liked it.
It's a good product.
That's good.
People
Good folks.
like it.
People like it.
They just don't like unions. I respect the shit out of Coppola. I don't want it to come off like I don't. It's just an interesting in every movie we've covered or that I've covered that he's made. He's like, speaking of unions, and I'm like, fuck. He also has I watched his interview with Scorsese where he's bitching about how filmmakers need to retake the means of production. I'm like, yeah, but you don't believe really? You're gonna say means of production?
Feel like there's a disconnect. How's Sophia on the topic? I have no idea, by the way. I don't
know. I didn't look into that part.
I don't know. We didn't do Lost in Translation yet.
She's good though. Not a good actress though. At least not in Godfather 3. Godfather 3 is the one blah movie that Coppola's ever done.
Yeah.
Just when they thought it was out, they pull me back in.
Yeah. I like Sofia Coppola quite a bit, but I don't care for Godfather 3.
The one I feel like
controversial opinion. I know.
I feel like it's now way more. I feel like it's way more iconic now with Silvio Dante and fucking The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. Than it is even with Al Pacino, which is fucking hilarious. But
I don't know about that, but it's definitely like I would put it like the Better Call Saul with like the network speech, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that being like the appropriate level of thing. I would say we aren't talking weird. I don't want to take us even more off topic over here. I think Sofia Coppola.
We're about to end, so these are.
So Sofia Coppola.
Go for it.
Okay, Sofia Coppola actually I think is a very good filmmaker, but she she makes films that are very clearly made as a person of privilege. And I actually don't mean that as an insult. I actually think she's really good at making like vibe movies that like really don't have like, you know, class concerns or monetary. It never comes into the picture. It's just like not even something that she thinks about. But the films are good. Like she has talent, and I don't know, like being around like that dude as your dad, and like that guy's pretty good at the movies. You know, like she could have like done anything she wanted to do, and she chose to make films. So again, I don't want this to, like, I feel like Sofia Coppola gets bashed on in a way that honestly, like Nicolas Cage doesn't, who's his nephew, right? So like, and I get
Jason Schwartzman doesn't.
Well, yeah, Jason Schwartzman. Yes, I agree.
I hate him.
Is it sexism or is it just the way it is?
I don't know. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Godfather 3 it's not even that it's so terrible, but it's such a letdown from the first two. Like Godfather 2 to me is like one of the best sequels of all time.
Yeah.
It's like Godfather's 2, Gremlins 2, like Aliens, like it's a small list.
Oops.
I've turned women off by how much I like Godfather 2, and I'm like, just watch this. And they're like, it's fucking 3 hours long. No. And I'm like,
I'm not gonna do that.
Dude, but honestly, I've spent the entire month of January watching sci-fi films, and so many of them are so long at this point. I'm like exhausted if a movie is more than like an hour and 20 minutes.
Never
like,
any story.
Need
fucking
to go
90 minutes and change. Right?
Yeah,
Like
Godfather though. Godfather is a series, right? And I talked about this. No, but like Godfather, you know, as a trilogy of movies, right? Mm-hmm. I've talked about this with Ben when we did Goodfellas. Like it's kind of an ethereal, non-class based in some ways version of what the mob is. And what Scorsese does is kind of various, and in some cases The Sopranos, like it's a very class based mob movie, not in the sense of like, oh well, these are working class, these are, you know what I mean, but like the mob has a class system. And when you're looking at something incredibly fucking romantic like The Godfather, like in the sense of like it romanticizes the mafia as a thing, you're focused on Michael Corleone the entire fucking time, who's the most privileged possible like person in the mafia system, right? Like he's literally a nepotism case. And he earns it throughout the movies. Like at first they're like, oh well, it's gonna be Sonny, it's not gonna be you, and it's like, no, he kind of proves himself ruthless enough to get through it, and kind of as a neoliberal technocratic which is hilarious, but like a neoliberal technocratic mob boss where he's like, well, we can kill this many people and we're gonna have to do it, and this is like, you know, the data says, like he's that kind of mob boss, which is funny. But at the same time, like you look at that kind of system of it, and you look at something like I mean, Mean Streets is like the lowest version of it, I think. Like Mean Streets is like gutter level, like
that's a working for mafia.
They're like, we have so many of these fucking people. Like Harvey Keitel is the only person that kind of is like a capo's nephew, but like everybody else, they're like, listen, if we kill like 10 of these people, we still have like 50 of them. Like they just are street kids that are just running around. And then the same kind of with Goodfellas. Like, I mean, when you actually read the Wise Guy, like the book, like the only person that really kind of has a fluid relationship ever really in the mafia is Henry Hill. Like a fluid relationship to that. I guess caste system. It's not even really a class system. Like you can't move your way up through that. Like there's never going to be like a situation where
it's exceedingly difficult, and it's the exception that proves the rule. And I think a lot of times in that genre of movie, which we're somehow talking about now, is that it's seen as it's very easy to rise up in the ranks because that makes for better plot development and like to move character stories along. And in reality, it isn't. And I feel like, again,
I don't think Scorsese makes it seem easy, though.
Scorsese does not. But like Mean Streets is what I was about to say. Literally about to say was that like it's like the dirtbag version of the mob, right?
Yeah.
And like there's way more of
the
that
Chapo Trap House mob
than the landed gentry version of the mob. As much as I love Godfather and Godfather Part 2, but also
and those people existed. Those people did exist. Like 100%. When you're at the top of a mob family, those people existed. But it's like kind of an antebellum almost version of the mafia.
Sure, but then go to earlier point you mentioned, like, I mean, do you think Sofia Coppola would catch so much shit if she hadn't gone by Coppola? Like if she'd pulled a Nick Cage? I don't know.
Yeah,
a lot of people were very hurt that a Godfather 3 existed, let alone that it didn't meet their expectations. But she's a very good filmmaker. It's just that You know, like again, go back to the Elaine May conversation, right? If she was a dude, she probably could have survived doing Ishtar, but she wasn't. And like, it was at a time like Howard Dean screamed and was disqualified from being president, right? Like, you know, it's just different times to a certain degree, but like, I mean, there is a bit of a double standard, and there's the idea if you're trading off of the family name. Anyway, this is a completely different discussion from anything has to do.
No,
with
but I think it's interesting the class dynamic of it, right? Because I don't think
agreed.
Like Francis Ford Coppola even understands that dynamic of it. Well, because
But
Mario
Sophia
Puzo,
was like the heir apparent. Sophia was like,
Yeah.
like that was like if anyone was going to do it, it was going to be Sophia.
she's not cleaning out the elephant house, is what you're saying.
She's not,
No.
not cleaning it.
Why-
Erica, you got some final thoughts on this? Final thoughts
Well,
on any final
I'm just-
thoughts?
The
Why?
elephant house.
Why should Sophia Coppola have to go by a different name in order?
Well, she shouldn't have
to,
to. Absolutely
just,
not. There's no way.
like, I don't know, like get credit for the work that she does, or I don't know. I mean, it kind of makes sense that she would make films the way she does, considering she must lead a very privileged life, I assume.
So I want to be clear. I don't mean that to be like insulting or to be like, hey, she's trading off her name or anything along those lines. No more so than anyone does.
No, I don't think you're saying that. Yeah.
But I think that I don't think she would catch. Look, I don't think she catches the same shit she does now. I think she's like has enough of a body of work she's considered. Oh yeah, it's Sophia Coppola. She makes cool films. Yeah, whatever. But I think there was a time period where like Sophia Coppola was like, face on a dartboard.
People wanted to undermine her. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
during Godfather 3 is a perfect example. People fucking shit on her role in that because not that she didn't in some ways like earn it by not being a great actress, but they're like, oh, he cast his daughter, like his daughter, like ruined the movie, like. So like it does make sense with that with people don't like the nepotism side of it, right? Like people don't like seeing that and being like any actress could have played. And I'm not.
There are directors who hire the same people over and over and over again,
right.
and
like
there are also people who hire people they're related to.
Exactly, like the director of that fucking movie.
This is not the only instance of that. I don't know. It seems harsh.
I don't even hate Godfather 3.
Point of order. Sophia Coppola.
Never even seen it. I don't like mafia movies. I got to be honest. But
I own DVDs. I own the entire DVD set. So like I've made it through Godfather 3. I don't love it as much. Godfather 2 though. But I'm also a fucking like kind of old style socialist that fucking likes looking at the Cuban Revolution and loves fucking Godfather 2 more than Godfather 1 by a lot. Because I'm like, oh shit, you get to watch fucking the Cuban Revolution kind of happen. You get to watch everybody fucking run away from it. You get to watch Batista kind of fucking freak out. Like, yeah, that's awesome. I fucking love that.
Yeah.
So Dave Batista is talking about, by the way.
I mean, it makes sense that the second out of a series of 3 would be the best, right? Like, there's the most action in that. Like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the middle one was the best one.
Yeah. So
I taking the Hobbits to Isengard. What I'm saying. I support you.
So Erica, what are your final thoughts on the conversation? So when Sophia Coppola comes on the show, we'll have it out about that and like we can get her thoughts on it. But come on the show, Sophia Coppola. She won't do it, but yeah.
Yeah, I would love to meet her.
That'd be cool.
The show's too class based.
My final thoughts on the conversation are that out of all of the Godfather movies, this one was my favorite. No, I thought it was really
Godfather
really
1.5.
I love that, like, it's a story about a person's internal struggle, and like we get all the like mystery surrounding it to like decode for ourselves, and like I do really appreciate that. Even I'm gonna go watch it again because I had some confusion around it while I was watching it, and then talking with all of you about it. I'm like, oh, I need to go like take this in now that I have this conversation under under my belt.
One part of the DVD commentary, like talking about The Godfather, that kind of fascinated me is that he's talking about how he feels like there's actually isn't that much of a difference between, and this is a common thing in like mob director like commentary, but like the only difference between like criminals and cops is who has the gun. Like the only difference between criminals and cops in this underworld, right? Like the seedy underworld of like surveillance and government officials is like, oh, I'm with the government and I have a gun, or oh, I'm a criminal and I have a gun. Like those are the only two things. So in the DVD commentary, he's talking about when he had the guy pull over, he had the license plate, and he read out the license plate and then was like, "Hey, this is your license plate. This is where you live." Like he's showing off for everybody. He's like, "I'm trying to show that the only difference between those guys or a criminal and something, and like they're doing these like juvenile hijinks, and the only real difference between like a bottom level criminal and this guy, like a whatever like police person who's like working in private security is like who has the contract, who has the gun. Like those are the only real differences." Conan, Mo screens, Mo problems.
That's for you, my
Final
friend.
thoughts.
I mean, I actually got them out on the main show, at least 98% of them before I got interrupted and clowned on, which is fair enough. Give you get. I think
You
that
should have no more comedians on.
With love, of
I
course.
know. Yeah, no, nothing but love. Nothing but love. Look, I dish it out all the time. If it's funny, I'm for it. I think that this is a fantastic film that bears that you can watch many times and get something different out of every time. And the first time I watched it, I had a lot of thought. I thought about it a lot, but I don't think I understood it that much. If that makes sense. And then the next time I watched it, I think I had a greater understanding of it. And then the third time I watched it, I kind of questioned some of my original understanding of it. Those are the kinds of films I like a lot. I think this is one of my favorite of Coppola's movies, frankly, and certainly is most underrated. And one of my favorite Gene Hackman movies as well. He's astounding in this, playing completely against type in a way that it's hard for us to understand in a modern context. We think of him as being an older gentleman at this point.
And by the way, he hated it. He fucking hated his role in this because you saw him in the Johnny Carson clip. He was like cool. He
was a cool guy, even though like his hairline was already receding. Like his hairline was already like got to there, right? Like, but
well,
like, wasn't trying to throw punches, but like he was still in that era where you could be a leading man with a big bushy 70s mustache and a receding hairline and be like a sex symbol, right? And in that way that like it's so against type. I mean, whether he liked it or not doesn't matter. It's one of his most iconic roles.
Well, and it's less that he didn't like it, I think, and more that he started to feel the character seeping into his like conscious. Which is
because he was doing that. I mean, we think of like Daniel Day-Lewis for these kinds of things, right? But he was like basically living the role, and like,
but you can see it in that Johnny Carson clip where he's talking about like, oh well, there's people in surveillance that they say that it's not whatever, and these are like, and you can kind of, I mean, obviously Gene Hackman is like probably like a liberal, you know what I mean? Like he's a Democrat, like he is not a Nixon. Like it's not like Gene Hackman is going around being like, oh, I love Nixon, and then
it's cool, Nixon. Yeah,
like no, he's someone who was on the left of things. He's one of those cool like 70s leftists that are like, like, oh, like fuck that kind of thing. Like, so it's interesting to see him in that context on that thing and be like, listen, I think those people like they're gonna get what's coming to them. And like I just found that kind of fascinating because that's who he's talking about, right? Like he's talking about everybody involved in Watergate. He's like, no, like those people are gonna get what's coming to them, and it's like, oh shit. Like,
well, I mean, he was on Nixon's enemy list.
Yeah.
Right? Is there any like greater list to show where you stand? Right. I mean, like kind of amazing. And yeah, I think this is a killer film. Like I'm was very excited to talk about it. This is one that sparks a lot of conversation, so to speak. And that's for good reason, because we all live with surveillance as a daily part of our lives now. But there was a time that wasn't the case, and that it was kind of a niche thing. And the fact there'd be a surveillance convention is so crazy. The fact that there wouldn't be like postings.
It's literally CPAC. That's
I mean,
it's the right wing exuberant. Because Nixon had the famous quote: "If you want something done, meaning if you want surveillance done, hire a right wing exuberant." That was his quote. So like this is the right wing exuberant conference, essentially.
Yeah. Sure. But also like the idea that like these kinds of jobs are like on LinkedIn now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that's how they'll be called something like more clever or euphemized in such a way. But like
fucking Walmart Mike.
But I think it's.
I don't know if you saw that whole back.
Who's Walmart Mike? No, I don't know who that is.
Well, you're not on Twitter, but there's a whole back and forth where there's guy Walmart Mike that everyone fucking hates.
I'd have to try to give less of a shit. Can I finish my final thoughts? Come on.
I looked up his LinkedIn and it was an AI system that surveils people within Walmart, and I posted it and the guy blocked me. Anyway,
Fucking funny.
Oh,
That's
okay. I
hilarious.
do know about West Elm Caleb though. I do know what that.
I really
know who that
didn't
is.
want to, but then I downloaded it for Ken's thing, and then we didn't even end up doing the show. And
And now you know about it, and you can't use that space of your brain for something useful.
It's
can
a
you?
great example.
I just know it. Like anyone younger than me, I'm never gonna fucking talk to on a dating app.
Okay.
Now it's part of everyday life. We all live with it.
West Elm Caleb. Yeah, you're
I
right.
was gonna make that joke, and I was like, I want to like.
Oh my God.
It's just never gonna happen. I'm just never gonna get to finish the final thought.
No,
It's
fine.
okay.
Finish it. I'm muting
I'm
myself.
listening so hard now.
So it was a subculture. Like this was like a crazy subculture that like where this movie brought out and looked at in a element that wasn't like a biography or anything, but showed a part that was only recently coming into culture at that time. That time was heavily in the news. Now it's part of everyday life. Now it's something that it's taken for granted. It's bought and sold, so on and so on. But I think it still holds up. And it's amazing that it holds up this much later. I mean, this movie's older than like any of us by a pretty large margin. So even me. And I think that that's amazing because it's still a good movie. And it still makes you ask those questions. Like when Francesca was being like, well, I think that is not real at the end. It's clearly a dream. I don't agree with that, but I was like, she makes a good point. She makes a good point for it. And that makes it an enduring film. And that makes it a film that's still worthy of discussing and worthy of watching. I'm really glad we covered it. I think it's a great one. And I think this was a good talk.
And it's kind of within this kind of the turn towards this like individualism. And I'm fucked up by this. I've been rewatching Can't Get You Out of My Head, the Adam Curtis series. And I'd like to hey everybody, if you like our content and you want to subscribe to our Patreon, I would really like to do a video essay series on Can't Get You Out of My Head. And I would love to do that if I can get enough money to kind of afford to do that. But it's kind of about the age of this is the same. It's the turn toward the age of the individual, right? Like radicalism fades away. And it's kind of what's going on in your own head. And that's really all that matters. And yourself as an individual and your own morality and like your own thoughts towards things and kind of a move away from collective action. And I feel like it kind of increases all of these things like surveillance where you're like, well, you know, I as an individual, how do I feel about this? Am I all right with this? Does it really affect, you know, how does it affect my own situation? I'm inside of my own head. That's all that really matters. So I definitely think that it's an interesting movie on that side of it.
As long as you don't join a union.
Well, I am going to send us to the Fantasia intro. So
yeah, one last time, one more time around.
This will be on Twitch for tonight, and I think I'm going to take it off and put it on Patreon and then clip parts of it and, you know, see what happens that way. All right, everybody. I'll see you on February 9th. February 9th. All right.